you say, well, every speech should have a purpose. And every speech has a general purpose, whether it's defined by the speaker or not. A general purpose is the broad intent of the speech. The most common general purposes are, 1, to inform. This type of speech includes lectures, briefings, or demonstrations. To persuade, this type of speech includes sales presentations, campaign speeches, or fundraising speeches. Give me your money. To entertain, this is often an anecdotal speech that makes a point. To inspire, this is the kind of speech that might be delivered at a commencement or motivational seminar. The specific purpose of the speech is to have a clearly defined specific purpose. A specific purpose focuses on one explicit aspect of the general purpose. Our next speaker's speech is an entertaining speech, of course, that makes the point, nobody owes you anything. Please help me welcome Brad Beck.
I'm just curious, how many of you have ever had a conversation that you thought would be a good back and forth, and soon it escalated into World War III? Anybody have that before? My dad and I were having a conversation many years ago. I was 18 years old, about to graduate from high school, and we were having this conversation about what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I had worked part-time jobs my whole life. I was a paper boy when I was a little guy. I worked telephone sales. I was a sales associate, a stock boy. I even delivered milk for an older guy who didn't want to get out of his truck early in the morning to porch the dairy products. So he paid me to take the little metal stands with dairy products, milk in glass jars, to the porch and run back to the truck. I got paid for that. How cool is that? Well, our discussion soon became intense. We were going back and forth. And all of a sudden, out of the stupidity of a youth brain, I said the following to my father: "You owe me an education." Next thing I know, I was grabbed by the neck and thrown against the wall, where I brushed up against a clock and knocked it down. I was hanging almost like somebody you guys might know, and just in fear because I couldn't believe that I angered my father so quickly. I mean, usually it took a few more minutes. This time I was hanging, and my father grabbed me tighter and he said, "I don't owe you crap." He used another word. And he walked out of the room. Then I had to think, how the hell am I going to get off this nail in this collar shirt that was choking me? So finally I slid down. I picked up the clock that miraculously didn't break. Neither one of us were really broken, but I was bruised pretty badly. My father had woken me up. It was a catalyst that made me go, wow, really? Just for saying something like, "You owe me something." Took me some time, but I finally realized what my father was giving me. He was giving me a hell of a lesson, something that I remember to this day, something that we all could learn from. You see, sometimes an obstinate kid needs to be woken up, needs to be shaken, especially when you think you know everything. At 18, didn't we know everything? We could tell people things. They were usually wrong, but we could tell them all day long. My father taught me this valuable lesson. Simply said, nobody owes you anything, period. Think about that. Nobody owes you anything. There was an assumption by somebody who was 18 that the world owes you a living. In fact, there was a great 1940s cartoon with a cricket playing a fiddle. While the ants were getting ready for the winter, he was playing the fiddle, singing, "Oh, the world owes me a living." You ever watch those 1940s Looney Tunes? This was not about my dad's anger. No, this was something to treasure. This was something valuable. I found similarities in this personal story in a letter I get every year from my friend Dave Walden. And it's a letter written by the former presidential candidate Harry Browne, the Libertarian candidate. He wrote this letter to his then 9-year-old daughter, wishing somebody had told him about this idea that nobody owes you anything. He thought it was the greatest gift rather than a toy or a game. But that simple phrase, nobody owes you anything. Like Brown, I've incorporated this philosophy into my life. It's about personal accountability and self-reliance, which actually gives you more freedom. The idea to grasp only happened after I matured and dwelled on it over and over. Why did my dad get so mad? Well, pretty simple. When you turn 18 and you're not under the care of your parents, the responsibility of your parents, nobody owes you anything. It's your personal responsibility. Nobody is responsible for our own happiness. It's you. You're responsible. We have a lot of people around the world today who are entitled, who think you're the reason they're unhappy. Well, my dad, like Harry Browne, gave me an incredible understanding. He gave me the key, really. It wasn't about anger. It wasn't about entitlement as much as my father sharing with me his philosophy, his understanding of what happiness is about. I wish I had that clock that I knocked down and brushed on the floor. You know, it would have been a great reminder that we only have a limited amount of time. And if we go around blaming other people for not making us happy, we really are missing the boat. Once we understand that our friends, our acquaintances, our coworkers are not the responsibility of us, but we are the responsibility. As Harry Browne once said, quote, "A great burden was lifted from my shoulders the day I realized nobody owes me anything." End of quote.